This is Kevin F. Pope with the Pope's Perspective and my 30 Days of Disney. And we are entering the Renaissance years. Now, for those of you who do not know, what are the Disney Renaissance years? Well, so there was a time between the classic films of Walt and the Renaissance years where there was a slump at the Disney animated films. Their films had not been performing well. They didn't have the same, they weren't as good. They weren't producing the same quality of films. Okay? And then Little Mermaid came out, and it gave new life, awakened into Disney film. Disney animated films were cool again. Disney animated films were going back to where they originally were. People remembered why they loved Disney animated films. And for those of you who do not know, there was a great documentary about it called Waking Sleeping Beauty, which is fantastic. They go over just about everything. And they don't tiptoe around some of the more they don't sugarcoat it. Okay, they talk about some of the problems they had and the tensions, but okay, I'm drifting off. So let's go back in time. Okay, we're not talking about Disney's Renaissance years. We are talking about my childhood. These are the animated films of my childhood. Because of that, I'm going to cheat on my 30 Days of Disney. I am doing my 4 Renaissance films, the films that were part of my childhood. You will know what these films are, starting with The Little Mermaid, ending with The Lion King. Okay, I'm making an exception on this one. We're doing the Renaissance films, starting with The Little Mermaid. So, go back in time. So, before we start talking about The Little Mermaid, I want to talk about another film that I loved when I was younger, called Scamper the Penguin. Okay? I watched Scamper the Penguin. I thought it was great. For about a week. Yes. There was a children's film that, as a child, I grew tired of. Now, why do I bring up Scamper the Penguin? Because around that same time, I was 5 years old. A film called The Little Mermaid came out. I saw it in theaters 5 times. By the time my siblings saw The Little Mermaid with me, I was driving them nuts because I was singing all the songs. I loved The Little Mermaid. I loved The Little Mermaid to pieces. Okay? Fast forward a little bit, the movie comes out on VHS. And I learned how to use a VHS. Maybe not for The Little Mermaid, but I figured out how to use a VHS player, put the movie in. So I would put in The Little Mermaid, I would watch The Little Mermaid, I would rewind it, and I would watch it again, and I would continually do that. I have no idea how many times as a child I watched Little Mermaid on my own. Nobody ever put it in for me. I put it in myself and repeatedly watched it. I wore out 2 VHS tapes of The Little Mermaid. And to this day, I still love The Little Mermaid. So, oftentimes, films are like, people like look at kids' movies or films aimed at children, and they're like, well, it doesn't matter because it's a kids' movie. It's for kids. And you know, I'm like, okay, there's some merit to that. You're making a movie for kids, but go back to Scamper the Penguin. Like, that movie was made for kids, and even as a kid, I grew tired of it. There's other films that even though I loved them as a kid, I grew older, and I look back at them and I'm like, I liked this. The Little Mermaid. I saw The Little Mermaid. I continually watch The Little Mermaid. I still love The Little Mermaid. Maybe not everybody has watched The Little Mermaid as much as I have, but The Little Mermaid is a film I still love. And so instead of make a film and say, oh, it's just for kids, so it doesn't matter. Let's make a film that kids will love, but then they'll love as they become adults and they'll want to show to their children. Am I going to show my kids Scamper the Penguin? No. I don't even know where you can find Scamper the Penguin, and I don't care. I don't want Scamper the Penguin. My kids are going to know The Little Mermaid. Okay? So that was like a film, and really, The Little Mermaid may have been one of the first films that inspired my love of film. Okay? It wasn't necessarily the first film I saw in theaters, but it's the first film I remember seeing in theaters. And I remember seeing it the different times. And I just, like I said, I still watch The Little Mermaid to this day, and I adore The Little Mermaid. And the other thing about Little Mermaid is it's so cinematic. There's so many great cinematic moments. Okay, the whole thing with the ocean, the part when she's singing Part of the World and she's reaching up in her tavern and she's reaching her hand up through the hole and you're just looking down on her. That's such a cinematic moment. Okay, granted, it would have been a much harder moment to film in live action. We'll see what they do with the new live action film, which I will talk more on later. Okay, and Ursula. Where do I even begin with Ursula? I mean, they went through so many different designs for Ursula until they decided to give her the tentacles. And boy, was that a good idea, because there's so many things, because she's moving around and her tentacles are flowing and they're twisting and they're turning and they're spiraling and they're doing all of these great things, and it's so much fun to watch her with the tentacles. I love that they squidified Ursula. That's what I'm going to call it. Squidified her. And the one thing I will say with the remake you're going to do with Ursula, please have some fun with Ursula. Okay, obviously with animation you draw it and you figure out what you're going to do with it, and you can make new drawings and you can adapt it and you can change things. With a live action film, they're going to have to choreograph it. They're going to have to know specifically what they want to do with it. But please, plan things out. Have some fun with her tentacles. Kind of like with Davy Jones' beard in the Pirates of the Caribbean films. That was really cool what they did with his tentacle beard. So, put her on wires, have her go flying around, and then add the tentacles later. Because the few times I've seen things where they've done, live action versions of Ursula, usually it just looks like she's walking and they just added tentacles, and it looks so boring. So I really hope they do some fun stuff with Ursula in this live action film. So a little tangent on that, on a film that hasn't even come out yet. But these moments, I love that moment at the end also with Ursula after she's become ginormous and Eric defeats her and he skewers her with the ship, and then the ship goes down and her tentacles are wrapping around the ship and going down. The film is so cinematic. The music is just, the music makes the film. It is one of my favorite Disney scores. I have the complete score for Little Mermaid, and I love just listening to the music, even when it's not the songs. The score alone is beautiful, and it's so nostalgic for me too, because I think oh my goodness, I love this music, and the songs are great. The songs are wonderful. The whole story is great, and yeah, we've had some slack with Ariel, and it's oh, she just met him, love at first sight, and she didn't really know him, and she gave up, and yeah, she did. I will grant that, but I'm willing to forgive it. I don't think it's the best advice. But it's like, she fell in love. She did fall in love. Like, and Disney has addressed that since. Like, you need to develop love, you need to develop feelings. But also, like, to her credit though, you watch the film, you watch Eric. He's enamored with her. Even when he doesn't know it's her and she can't speak, he can't take his eyes off her. And there's certain moments, like, that's the animation in this film, the character that they gave performances. Okay? When Triton destroys her grotto, is that her grotto? When he destroys her collection, her human stuff and everything, the moment after he does that, you look at his eyes and you see the regret. Like, you know, he regrets it the minute he did it. And I love that moment. And then of course it's echoed later on the film after she's gone and he doesn't know where she is and he goes, "What have I done? What have I done?" Hey, Triton is an overbearing parent. Yes. Triton goes too far. Yes. But they give him humanity, which is ironic because he's a merman. He doesn't like humans. He doesn't want to be human. But oh my goodness, Little Mermaid. It speaks to my heart. I love Little Mermaid. Every time I watch it, it's like I'm 5 years old again. I mean, I'm still enamored with the film. And I catch things that I never caught before as a kid. I look at it, I can still look at this film so differently, but I have so much love for this film. And I think that's what really makes a lot of these Disney films great, is because we love them as children, and then we love them as adults. Okay? And really, when you're making a film, I don't think they should make films that are just kids alike. Okay, I prefer films that you'll love as an adult, and maybe some films you'll like as a kid and you'll grow older and you're not into that anymore, and other people will be. I can't think of anyone who grew up loving The Little Mermaid and doesn't like The Little Mermaid anymore, or I don't know, maybe they didn't like The Little Mermaid, maybe it's not their thing, I don't know. I got a nephew who's not really into the Disney princesses, and that's okay. I love The Little Mermaid. I've always loved The Little Mermaid. I will always love The Little Mermaid. And so we shall continue on with this section of my 30 Days of Disney of the Renaissance years, and on to A Tale as Old as Time.